Wade, Jesse James, and the Daltons, and the Fords.
That's pretty cool.
They all ran with him.
Yeah. Watch out. I need you to stay in front of me now. We're going to show you one more room back there.
Tape 2.
All the way back in the back. We have the Joseph Nash Mcdowell chamber. McDowell. Dr. McDowell purchased our cave in 1839 with a science experiment in mind. He thought that he could turn a dead body to stone if you left it in the cave long enough. So he went around looking downtown for dead bodies and couldn't find anyone ready to donate one. So he hung his head and went back home to St. Louis, where he found that his 14-year-old daughter Amanda had just passed away from pneumonia. Sadly, he had a body. He took Amanda's body and brought her to the cave. He constructed a glass and copper cylinder in that room back there and filled it with a solution of his own design that he thought would turn her to stone. He then left her body in the cave and went back home to St. Louis to let his experiment run its course. She was in here for 4.5 years before he came to check up on her again and found that she wasn't turning to stone. However, he did find something very interesting. He left the cave and went and got one of his doctor friends from Hannibal, brought the man in here and had him perform an autopsy, which is when they examine a dead body. He asked the man to guess how long the girl had been dead for. He thought she had been dead for no more than 2 weeks. But she was in our cave for 4.5 years. So while he didn't turn her body to stone, he did preserve her body very, very well. That's one of the first known preservation efforts in American medical science. You have to remember this was before the Civil War in the early 1840s. Medicine at the time was basically, you have an infection, I'm cutting off your leg. Yeah. Very impressive. Also extremely creepy. So we're going to go that direction.
Hooray!
Away from where the dead girl was, yes. Let's go, guys.
Oh, what's the fun in that?
Let's just stay here, but there's so much more caves to see. In fact, if you look right here, you're going to see the name C.E. Tucker in red writing.
Is this tape
And there's
2
another
or the
one right
video?
up here somewhere in pencil that's almost impossible to see. And there's a big one right there in black paint. C.E. Tucker. Clive Tucker did nothing of historical significance.
Shoot.
He is, however, famous in our cave. He signed his name over 250 times. The current count is at 257. And no one really knows why he stopped signing his name, but if you ask me, he was probably pretty tuckered out.
Or pretty old.
Or pretty old. His family claims that Clive Tucker is the one that showed Jesse James the cave. They don't have any proof for that claim, though. So, I don't really know what to tell you about it.
Well, it could be, because they probably been friends, but then again.
I've done this for 10 years. I haven't hit my head once.
You're about to.
The best part is that my head is at the correct level.
You know you could fit a whole army up in here? Shoot. You could have a whole military up in this.
Here we have our wishing well.
Wishing well.
Yep.
Oh, money.
Right here.
Dollar.
Here you go.
Oh, whoa. How did you get that? Amazing.
Hey,
Please.
Here you
Do we
go.
have a dollar?
I don't have a dollar, I have a dime.
Darn.
Make a wish.
Get it.
Throw it in there, make a wish.
Make a wish and throw it down there.
Make a wish for the
Make a
wishing
wish, throw it
well.
in there.
Throw it in there.
I'm making my wish. Throw it in there. I don't know what I'm gonna wish for.
Well, you can always wish to get out of the cave.
Go, throw it.
Nice. The money down there is collected once or twice a year by tour guides like myself and donated to the Tom and Becky Foundation. Thank you. Someone's used napkin.
I'm crying.
Wonderful. Into the back pocket. We got hand sanitizer back and keep shot.
Here we go. They got a lot of stuff to do. Wow! I found something down there.
Did you guys tell you how to do your job today?
Breaker number 15. So we're in tunnel 15, Grandma. It says tunnel 15, breaker 15. Wow, this is awesome. Best part about it is only 50 degrees in here. Perfect temperature. Cold at the start, but
No head sticking in that wall.
Take 2 of the tour in the cave.
Oh. We found
Mark
Tommy
Twain
and Becky
cave.
playing in the cave, so I'm gonna lead
This
him
is
out.
awesome.
All right, well, we'll say our goodbyes. Have fun, guys.
Hope you guys get out of here. Be
Be safe.
Don't get lost.
Alright guys, this is the Parlor Room. This is the only place in the cave where you can break the rules I gave you. Please feel free to climb on the rock formations on either side of the cave and take a seat.
Wait, we can?
Yeah, all the way past, up to this sign that says Parlor right there. Don't go past that sign though. I'm gonna sit right here.
I'm going up here.
Yeah, this is nice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, I got my hand.
Shoot, you guys should turn this into a house.
Real good there.
Shoot, this would be one fancy house. A house cave. There's some people who actually did that though.
Oh my god, it's so cool.
Go closer together.
They hate lime. My butt feels cold.
Screw over here. Come on.
This is awesome. You taking a picture?
Yeah.
Always take a picture of me.
Take a video, it lasts longer.
Right to me. Three smiles.
Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and continue the story of Tom and Becky lost in the cave. As you know, they had their candlelight blown out in that room back there. They climbed on hands and knees until they got to this room here. Not being able to see where they were going, Becky bonked her head on the end of this large rock formation right here. And right in front of you. And with a sore head and aching feet, she had decided that she was going no further until Tom found the entrance.
She's
So
making
she
you
sat down
move.
on the love seat here.
Go with the love seat. You better get over
I'm gonna
there.
get down there for life.
Yeah, she sat down on the love seat and told Tom as much. Now, at this point in the relationship, Tom was used to being in trouble with Becky. He was in trouble quite often.
Eddie.
And he'd known earlier that day at the picnic
I'm doing a
he did
video.
something for the next time she was mad at him. Knowing it'd be sooner or later, he grabbed a piece of the cake that she had said was so good, might as well be their wedding cake. He had saved this piece of cake in his pocket now, and with Becky upset and refusing to move, he decided now was as good a time as any to give it to her. So he pulled it out of his pocket, unwrapped the napkin it was in, and gave her the piece of cake. And as cake usually does, it cheered her right up. It was at this point that he decided he was going to say those three little words that every woman loves to hear. We are lost.
Wait.
That didn't make her feel very good. But like I said, he was a resourceful lad. He reached into his other pocket and he pulled out a very long string. He tied one end of that string to his finger and one end of that string to her finger and said, okay, Becky, you stay here, rest, relax, calm down. Also 3 words that you don't want to say to a woman when she's upset. Relax, calm down. I will go find the entrance. When I find it, I'll tug real sharp with the string and you can follow it on up to me and we'll get out of the cave. If you need me for any reason or you get scared, you can tug on the string, I'll come running right back to you and we'll get out and I'll help you with whatever you need to do.
Yeah, I actually do want to get out.
Well, this was pretty much exactly what she wanted, so she agreed. And Tom went climbing off that direction, trailing that string up behind him.
Look up right there.
Sadly, he did not get very far. He got to the end of to the lights right there, and came to a drop-off. And he didn't know if this drop-off was 3 feet deep or 300 feet deep, and he didn't have any way to find out. So he was sitting on the edge of the cliff, trying to figure out what he was going to do, when he saw a light coming around the corner on the far side. And he assumed this light was a search party coming to get him and take him out of the cave and rescue him. So he started to yell, "We're over here!" But as the light got a little bit closer, he saw the face of the man holding it and realized it was not a search party. It was Injun Joe. Now, if you've read the book or seen the movie, you know that Injun Joe was a murderer and a thief. And just 3 days ago, Tom had been the key witness at Injun Joe's murder trial and gotten him a guilty verdict. You see, Tom had seen Injun Joe murder Doc Robinson in the graveyard with his own 2 eyes. As he was telling the jury this, Injun Joe had escaped, bolting out of a 2nd-story courthouse window. The last thing Tom remembered was standing at that courthouse window watching Injun Joe disappear into the woods behind, yelling, "I'll get you for this, Tom Sawyer." So as you can imagine, that was about the last place on Earth we're going to see in the cave. He came running along this direction, collected Becky, and said, "We're taking our chances with those bats." Agent Joe, on the other hand, heard all this commotion and thought it was a search party coming to get him and to take him to prison. He said, I'm not going to jail. Threw down his light, stomped it out, and ran the other direction. And we're going to go see where he went. So if you guys would very carefully climb back down from the rock formations, please.
Dude's having way too much fun.
You too. Come here. Let's go. Everybody stand up. Break's over.
We didn't want to. It's too culpable.
All right, once our feet are back on the clay, the no climbing rule is back into effect. Thank you, girls, for participating and understanding.
Of course it's gonna be
As we walk
cold.
this direction, if you look to the left, you will see the only paid advertisement ever placed in Mark Twain Cave. It reads, Star Brand Shoes are better. Sold by Roberts, Johnson, and Rand Shoe Company, St. Louis, Missouri. This was placed in here in 1909 by Roberts, Johnson, and Rand Shoe Company, just 2 years before the company went out of business in 1911. It is said that in their desperation, they put their ad out in the dark and hit rock bottom.
What's the green light for?
It's just a green light.
Okay.
Tell you not to go there.
Green light means go.
Actually, that's a ladder. There's a ladder. It's a folding ladder. Here we have our drop-off. Now, thankfully, there's not a drop-off here anymore, but there once was a 15-foot cliff right where I'm standing. Early explorers would climb up and down this cliff on a rope ladder. We didn't think that was the safest thing in the world. So, we took glacial clay from either side of the walls here, and we made this wonderful ramp for you guys today. However, the ramp is still made of clay. Don't go down it just yet. And can get very slippery. So as we go down, please make sure that everyone is holding on to my completely natural stalagmites.
Yeah, I'm good.
Stalagmites.
We have to put resistant shoes on.
Yeah, the jokes only go downhill from here, guys. You have to get ready for that.
Oh man, it'd be fun to go have a sled. This ain't slippery at all.
Yeah, my boots are gonna slip.
Grandma's on there rolling for dear life.
She's got everything.
I know.
I've done 300 plus tours this year, and I've never lost a single person. You will be perfectly fine.
Huh, I wanna go that way.
As long as you follow me, we will get out of here safe. How about you look down in that hole? What do you see? Buried treasure. This is our treasure room.
Can we get it?
The treasure has been taken. That's just the empty box it was in. But the treasure was $12,000 in gold coins.
There's some money.
Oh, that'd be good.
Oh my god! I mean, that's what dropped my $10 in there.
Oh, I don't suggest you not drop any money in there. That's what the
It's
wishing
fake
was.
money.
Whoa.
No, that ain't fake money.
They look like some real money, but I'm talking about the ones in the box. It's fake.
I think maybe it's putty to keep that light in place. Here we have the devil's backbone. It's called the devil's backbone because it looks quite a bit like a scary bone spine. And if you look right here, you'll see a devilish face winking at you.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Who? More names. Did you guys ever see your family name on there?
I don't know, rock climbing. You just
Name you recognize.
Oh, at the end, the sluice. Aha.
Double backbone.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Oh, that does kind of look like a face right there. Wow, it really does.
I think this is actually, I've never been in a room that looks scary and there are just 2 people in here.
Yeah, those common babies.
Grandma, you're gonna have to speed when you get home. When we get out of here.
That's bad shot, bro.
Shoot, it's almost 2. Oh man. What?
That's in there.
Okay.
That's we're in there.
What, you think Batman's are in there?
Here we
I know
have
bats are in there.
5 points. This is the only place in Mark Twain Cave where 5 passages meet in a single location. You just walk out of number 1. Number 2 is your immediate left. 3 is to the left and forward. 4 is the direction we're going to go. And 5 is off to the right. Now, a quick quiz. Which direction would we go if we wanted to get out of the cave as quickly as possible?
Well, that's easy. You go that way. But
I go back the same way I came.
That's the way you came? Actually, the entrance is down passage number 3.
That's how I
If you
just.
took passage number 3, it's a straight shot all the way back to the entrance of the cave.
Well, we can't because there's a chain there.
Correct, because we don't want you to go as quickly as possible. We want
Told
to keep you
you.
here for as long as we can.
Hold it.
You paid for an hour, you're gonna get it.
Hey, it's a blue screen. Okay. That's nice. I
Well,
called
it's
it.
a lot more kid friendly if you listen to the stories.
And he's just ignoring it. I'm one of you.
Here we have the Glacier. This is the first of 4 living flowing formations that you're going to see as we go through the cave. The Glacier is a flowstone formation that is formed when water comes in from the ceiling above,
Awesome.
collecting calcium, and then drops down onto the
That was
slopes
cool.
below, depositing that calcium and creating a living, growing formation.
Don't mind me, I just took a shortcut around. That was cool.
I know it seems simple, but it is pretty easy to get lost in this part of the cave, so make sure you stay with us. Here we have the Cascades. Water comes in from the ceiling above, just like a glacier, drops down onto these slopes below, where it cascades down these switchbacks, falling all the way down to the dams down below, creating a living, flowing formation. If you look right here, you will see a stalagmite. However, those of you that know about stalagmites and stalactites know that for there to be a stalagmite, there must be a stalactite up above.
Mm-hmm.
But there isn't one. This is actually a stalactite that was in the entrance of our cave. It was a safety hazard. People kept it in their heads, so we cut it down and brought it here.
26 and 25.
Huh? Yeah, I know, right?
They put cement in it and clay.
Here we have Aladdin's
They
palace.
said they made clay.
This is the only place in Mark Twain Cave.
Yeah, I know,
Mark
but
Twain
for
himself
some
made.
areas they're
He saw
dangerous.
the onion shapes in the roof above and thought they looked like the domed roofs of the Taj Mahal. So he called it Aladdin's Palace after his favorite book, 1001 Arabian Nights.
I love this.
The water in that reflecting pool is 99.8% pure water. The other 0.2% is frog.
Oh, that's
Yes, we're
cool.
close up to one of our entrances now that our amphibious froggy friends like to come in on very hot days.
Aladdin's Palace.
Temperature and into that
Whoa.
pool. Play with those in a second. Here we have a frozen waterfall, the 4th and final flowstone formation. So called because it looks like a frozen waterfall. That's all I got for you. Next to it, we have Rainbow Grotto, which is not called Rainbow Grotto because
Danny.
of pretty LEDs you put back there. It's actually called Rainbow Grotto because back there you can find all 5 of the elements and minerals that make up our cave. They are calcium,
Right
calcite,
here.
magnesium, gypsum, and onyx. And all 5 are right back there in that intersection. Very interesting. Very unique spot.
Can't climb the walls.
As we move forward, you're going to see the first view of natural daylight in quite a little while. This is the first of 2 views of the John East entrance. And that is natural daylight you see trickling in from the hill outside. John East was our
Frozen
first tour
waterfall.
guide. He started guiding tourists in
It is
1886
frozen
after
now.
digging his own entrance through 14
Oh my
inches
God,
of
it
rock
really
dirt
is frozen.
in the hillside just over there.
Holy crap. Waterfall is actually really is
Now,
frozen.
John might have been our first tour guide, but he was certainly our worst tour guide. You see, John didn't know the cave very well, nearly so well as I do. He would take your tin sit, take a fee, and bring you into the cave, walk around just a couple of corners, and get well and truly lost. He would then wander around in the cave for hours at a time, trying to find his own way out, and telling you a different story each time he passed a similar rock formation to keep you distracted from the fact that he was lost. Kind of like what we've done today.
Found at a telephone.
Now this would continue for 4 years until John blasted out the 1890 entrance in 1890 with dynamite. His friends and family insisted that if he was going to spend all that money on dynamite, he might as well make a more permanent tour route. So he hired a couple of permanent tour guides and made a professional tour route.
That's
And the
not
rest
solid.
is history. You guys will notice that we're walking on concrete, not glacial clay right now. That is because the location of the entrance here makes it so that this floor gets very wet and turns into basically mud.
Yeah, I can see that.
Slippery, so
Right there. Not solid.
we poured concrete. Now, if you look up this direction, you will see the second of two views of the John East entrance, and it gives you a good idea of how people would come into the cave back in the day. As we turn around and go down this passage behind me, if you're any taller than I am at exactly 6 foot tall, you'll need to duck or step to the side. If you do not, you will become acquainted with Titanic Rock. Please watch your head.
Yeah,
If you do not
Danny.
watch your head, please watch your mouth. It's also called the Rock of Many Names, none of which I can repeat for you today.
Danny, Danny, okay? Well, that's pretty cool.
No, stop. Real quick, because, you know,
Hey, squirrel!
step on you.
Danny! I got the whole video! I got the whole video!
Come on, Eddie.
I'm right behind you. Literally. Woohoo! Well, that'd be cool. I go down that way. I would love this cave. If it wasn't for the stupid tour. Yeah. This cave. Fast and Furious better. This is awesome. I don't care how long this video is. This is awesome. If I had to make it into a YouTube video, I will.
From the droplets of water in the ceiling.
Oh my.
As those droplets collect and drip down, they hit the same spot every single time and leave big chunks right out of the floor. I'm not paranoid. She saw. Here we have Marriage Corner. There have been 9 weddings in our cave to date, the first of which happened right here in this intersection. In the early 1940s, a woman by the name of Sarah Brady was coming through the cave when she happened to look up and see the name N.L. Brady, 1858. She thought that sounded pretty familiar, so she did some research after her tour and found that that was her great-grandfather's signature. She decided she wanted to get married right here in his honor, so she asked the owners of the cave at the time if that would be possible, and they agreed. Now, it was, as I said, the first of 9 weddings in the cave, the most recent of which was in 2020. November 24th of 2020 to be exact. So relatively recently. The most significant of those weddings, in my opinion, was in 2003, when 2 of our very own tour guides, John and Patty, got married to each other. Everyone say, aww. Yeah, they still stop in from time to time to tell us how things are going. John usually says that he drives her batty, but they never caved in on each other. Yes, even though they got off to a rocky start, their vows are set in stone, and their relationship is rock solid. It helps they gave her a big old rock. And they never take each other for granted. Everyone say, oh.
Dang, the worst day sucks. We actually had to go to a restroom. And this is an hour and 34 minutes long. We had to go to a restroom, everybody. It sucks. You can't just go inside because if you do, it's 3 years in I know. It's 3 years in prison and then a $2,000 fine.
It feels like it's been an hour.
No, it actually has.
So I feel like somebody's following us behind.
Probably one of these people that died in here
You wish.
that's following you.
You wish. It's another tour. I can hear them talking.
What's that cougar?
Yeah, it's a
You wish.
Well, Grandma said.
Why we they gonna laugh?
But I guess you don't want to.
This is a casino. Join casino.
Outside of it. I can see outside. We are about to leave.
You got hill climb up.
This is the other side of that very first entrance I showed you guys outside the cave.
It's
The Discovery entrance where Jack Sims discovered our cave in November of 1819. This is also the only exit that would have been available for Tom and Becky to escape the cave when they were here, which they eventually did after 3 days and 3 nights of running around in total darkness. Not being able to see where they were going, eating only that piece of cake and drinking only cave water, they started to feel a little bit sick. When they finally got out of the cave, Tom had to drag Becky up this hill. Yeah, he went all the way back to town and got help. And they were forced to spend a couple of weeks in bed. After these couple of weeks that they spent in bed, 2 to 3, Tom was up running around downtown Hannibal when his Aunt Polly finally let him out of bed. and he ran into Judge Thatcher, Becky's father. The judge asked him, he said, "Tom, you ready to go back to that old cave of yours?" And Tom, completely missing the sarcasm in his voice, said, "Oh, you sure bet I am. Let me go get my candles." Sure enough, there's some crystals there. "Let me go get my candles." This was not what the judge wanted to hear. He said, "Tom, I boarded up the old entrance to the cave for good. No little boys and girls are ever getting lost in there again. I put big old iron bars across the front." It was at this point that Tom remembered for the first time that he had seen somebody else in the cave. You remember who it was?
Joe.
Injun Joe. He told the judge this, and Judge Thatcher got together a search party. They did not have to search very far, for after opening the entrance to the cave there, they found Injun Joe dead on those rocks. Next to him was a broken off pocket knife that he had ruined trying to dig his way out of the cave. He was surrounded by candles, wax, and bat's feet that he had tried to eat to stay alive. Yeah. It had eventually failed and he had starved to death. They took his body out of the cave and buried him on the slopes below, where it is said he still haunts these walls today.
There you go, Eddie. Now you know who's following you.
Who is?
Now, thankfully,
Keep talking.
Mark Twain was a fiction author, and none of the stories of Tom and Becky and Injun Joe are true stories. They are based on the writings of Mark Twain. They are, however, based on real people. You see, Mark Twain based Tom Sawyer on himself and several of his childhood friends. He based Becky Thatcher on his childhood sweetheart, Laura Hawkins. And Injun Joe was based on a man named Joe Douglas, who thankfully was not a murderer and did not die of starvation in our cave. He was actually an extremely nice man that simply had the misfortune of being born half Native American, half African American to a nearby tribe of Native Americans. At a time when neither of those two nationalities was very well respected in the United States. So that's why Mark Twain made him the villain in his book. But like I said, he was a very nice man that didn't murder anybody, and he actually did not die of starvation in our cave. He lived to be the age of 102, dying in 1923, 13 years after Mark Twain himself died at 75 in 1910. And even at 102, he did not die of natural causes. He died from food poisoning, from a bad batch of his favorite food, pickled pig's feet. I didn't know that they made good batches of pickled pig's feet. I always think it's interesting that in the story, Joe Douglas died from starvation, and in real life, Joe Douglas died from eating. Little irony. Either way, as we go forward, we're going to go around a sharp right-hand turn.
So you should never eat it.
Down this last passageway, there will be a large rock in the middle of the floor.
Okay, all right.
Please be very careful. Step on or around that rock. Make sure you do not trip and fall.
Yeah, Danny.
It's slippery.
Yeah.
Tell you they had to board it off there. That's wet?
It is moisture.
Well, it's clay. This is
A little
cool.
bit hole right there, a little bit drop off. You know, the little holes, be careful.
This is awesome.
Yeah, it's wet now. Mud.
Yeah,
It's not really mud, it's just kind of wet.
it's clay. It's wet clay. We should have came that way. Been more safer so in that bump. And here's the exit, guys. Thank you guys for joining.
You're at the end.
We're at the end of it, and here's this. But yeah, thank you. Bye, everybody.